Hello everyone, this is Ether Dragon, and welcome back to another episode of Fire Emblem Heroes. As you can see, we have quite the staggering lift this season. We're currently at 21,448. Spoiler alert, we're currently not under lift loss protection, so we potentially could end up with slightly less lift than this, but if we don't completely lose a defense match from here until the end of the season, we will have gotten our personal best lift ever. For reference, my current personal best is 21,428, so not too much margin of error. But speaking of error, pun intended, error was bonus this week, and there was plenty of shenanigans we did with her, so let's get to the replays to talk about that. So, of course, like I mentioned there, Air is bonus this week, and she was just absolutely insane this week. Her remix definitely takes advantage of the bonus stats all around. Of course, she gets a bunch of HP, plus 10 to be exact, and with her Lithia Burger Refine, that's essentially just a free extra +2 attack and res during combat, which might not sound like a big deal, but when you're trying to go for one-shots with Air, especially against units like Medius, it is a huge deal to be able to get that extra attack and res. Most of the Mediuses we tackle this season, we use Air to one-shot them, or something along that nature. She just was capable of getting a high enough attack stat this season to pick up some one-shots, which was definitely nice. What's not nice for our opponent, though, is leaving your units easily in range of Legendary Luna. Not entirely sure what they were expecting here.
Just my luck.
But Air's remix with, of course, the guard effect and preventing the enemy from making a follow-up attack when she initiates, or if she has higher speed than the target enemy. All that definitely helped her out a ton this season, and that definitely showed in a lot of our matches. A lot of our offense matches this season were either end turn with, typically it was actually Air, because of course, there are a ton of mages that get used on AR defense. And with Air's remix, and with bonus stats, she can get a pretty ridiculous res stat. Especially with Kaden and company also buffing her. So, she would be clocking in 80 plus res, pretty much easily walling most units. Unfortunately, speaking of walling, this person baits Legendary Luna while she has triangle attack active, so awkward. Not great for them, great for us, but pretty solid, to say the least. Air's remix will definitely not last forever, but it's definitely a pretty solid remix. She's definitely a ton better than she was prior to her remix. I keep mentioning her remix, but her matchup cards are absolutely insane post-remix against mages. Just because of that, but like even here, Bramamon can only attack Air once because of being too slow against Air, but unfortunately for Air, he has Luna, and Air, even with bonus stats here, doesn't have enough HP to survive. So that's unfortunate for our opponent. But anyways, going back to our offense matches, again, most of our matches were just end turn or some sort of hidden run. We definitely had to do plenty of daily damage calcs this season, but they're all pretty straightforward. It's mostly things like, can we one-shot the fire save unit, or when they're, after we initiate and run away, can we actually pick up kills on enemy units as they're charging towards us? Because of course, our team is mostly, in terms of damage output, it's mostly Ash, Air, and Nino. And Nino has to usually get front-loaded with buffs in order to pick up kills. So It can definitely be tricky for us to hit and run, but definitely not impossible. We definitely saw plenty of totally not rigged shenanigans where we would pick up near exact kills and whatnot, but that's why we do our daily damage calcs. It allows us to make those kind of plays that normally, if you're going into a match blind, you wouldn't think to do those kind of moves. It was a particularly interesting offense match where we were up against, let me see if I can remember all the units. There was a Duo Corin, a Harmonized Lysithia, I believe there was a Not Duochrome Medius. I don't remember who the dancer was. It might have been Dancer Eldian. I don't think so. Kind of blanking on exactly. No, it was Harmonized Azura. There we go. I was like, it's supposed to be not a Lance. It was a green mage cav dancer, the only one. So, I'm forgetting one other unit. Oh right, Harmonized Catcher, of course. That's why it was relatively scary. It was an interesting team, but I discovered with some really damaged calcs that it could actually casually... you could casually go in turn 1 with Nino, take out their dual Crom, and since he counters Nino, we don't one-shot him. We set up Vantage. It turns out because their Medius is essentially base kit with defense res bond, unmerged, we're able to Vantage kill Medius, since of course his attack and res debuff from his weapon doesn't proc if we're in Vantage range. And so we ended up actually casually Vantage sweeping their almost all their team turn 1. I used air to bait out their dual Corin just to minimize damage on Nino, but it wasn't necessary. We would have survived with Nino and still took out all but their not Harmonized Catcher anyways, but it was pretty much just an AI flex thing. Because the nice thing with Vantage damage calcs is when you're calculating what order the units will attack you, or when you're calculating the order the enemy units will attack you in, you basically just have to see if you can pick up the one shot on all their units, because then it just comes down to who has the least HP. Because of course the generally most relevant tiebreaker is going to be the damage ratio, which is 3 times the damage the enemy unit would deal minus the damage they would take. And so for a Vantage unit, if you are trying to
your defeat.
If you're trying to get away with Vantage Noontime like me,
let us celebrate,
and you're one-shotting all the enemy units, then none of them are going to be able to do any damage to you since you just one-shot them. So all of their damage ratios are negative, meaning the lowest damage ratio is the unit with the lowest HP, so it's super easy to calc. The only time things get slightly more complicated is when enemy units have the same HP stat. Then you have to... Sometimes you just have to calc both scenarios to see if it turns out alright, but yeah, those kind of AI things are super important for strategies like mine where you're using Vantage Noontime, where it kind of does matter where you on what unit you proc turn on, because that can kick you out of Vantage range. And because Nino has gotten tankier and tankier over the months and years of Uber-Eats memeing, she can definitely get out of Vantage a lot, but fortunately she can also be reasonably tanky to tank a pretty strong attack, even when she's outside of vantage range, which is pretty nice. But at the end of the day, that's pretty much why we can get away with our meme offense team and still do well. Of course, no escape ladder, no safety fence, we don't activate any traps. We only use that one offense key. The only reason we can do that is because we are leveraging pretty much everything in our arsenal to give ourselves the best chance of winning. There was also another match where we were up against... I'm trying to remember all the units again. This is not ever gonna go well. We were up against Dancer Eldigan, I believe Harmonized Catria, not Medius. I'm really forgetting all of the other units. Oh, Summer Mia. There's two other units. Not putting my finger on it though, but it was an interesting team with some rally shenanigans. Or not rally. I think it was rally shenanigans. But the thing was, I believe they also had Legendary Lona on their defense as well. No, actually they didn't. Pretty sure they did. I don't know, they might have. This is the problem when you don't record your matches. You kind of just don't remember what you actually faced. Especially if you don't record anything about it. But unfortunately for this opponent, they got nuked by Harmonized Catria's triangle attack shenanigans. So ripperonis. But against that defense, this is actually, I believe, the person I faced. They're rematching here. We were able to isolate their Dancer Eldigan turn 1 because he didn't have enough visible res. I believe they were running Sturdy Impact on their A slot, so that definitely didn't help. But after the Dark Shrine debuff on Milla, we would no longer be able to isolate their Dancer Eldigan. So essentially, we cleverly isolated Dancer Eldigan turn 1 and went for a turn 1 bait because their Summer Mia, who's definitely an annoying juggernaut in terms of stats, she was running ARD attack speed 4, lull speed defense, joint drive attack. It was definitely super threatening for us. So we couldn't just hit end turn in front of her with any of our units and really get away with it. There's also running lethality, but since it's at 3 cooldown, probably wasn't going to proc it 1 round anyways, unless she quad with Harmonized Catria shenanigans. But because of that, we could bait turn 1. I forget which unit we baited turn 1, but it might have been just leaving one of our units in Harmonized range. I don't remember exactly, unfortunately. But we also intentionally only broke one of the structures because that allowed us to create a choke point to prevent Harmonized Mia from threatening all of the tiles if she advanced and got dance. So essentially just a ton of AI manipulation, daily damage calcs were able to do things like one-shot their Medius on a defense tile because Air had her Iceberg up ready to go. And she had so much res that there was no damage reduction coming from Medius' B-skill. I believe it's called Assured Rebirth or something. So that was definitely nice. We ended up, this entire season, we ended up having a perfect offense, which I'm pretty surprised at because we did end up getting some pretty difficult matches. We also got our fair share of easy matches. There's always going to be some easy matches on occasion. So it's kind of like, what are you going to do about it? Nothing really. At the end of the day, definitely happy with our performance on offense. Would have liked to see some super interesting matches. There were interesting matches this week that we were able to clean sweep thanks to really damage calcs, seeing that, for example, Nino could vantage sweep
Way too
an
easy.
opponent's defense. That's a huge win. The thing was, if we didn't go in turn 1, the problem was their dual Crom, I believe, also had Vantage, close salvo Vantage, and of course Times Pulse with Deadeye. So one cooldown Deadeye is kind of a problem for us. In reality though, because of Cadence Refine, the one cooldown Deadeye is not that big of a deal, because of course we can get that guard to prevent Duocron from countering with Deadeye. But I was calculating it, and unfortunately Nino just could not get enough defense to survive 2 shots from Duocron. Because of course with Cadence Refine, Nino could get guard, so their duo Crom would not be able to proc Deadeye, and so we would just have to take 2 attacks, but unfortunately we just don't have enough defense in general. Because, let's be real, duo Crom is still red, you know, Nino's still yellow. Nino's still green, so there's still the weapon triangle advantage, definitely helping out his damage output. If he didn't have weapon triangle advantage, we could actually feasibly tank, but yeah. What are you gonna do about it? Here we do get the AoE damage, but on Brave Hector, but just like last time, Legendary Lilna is no way in heck going to 2-shot Brave Hector after that. Especially since we weren't running attack opening on Knots. I actually kind of goofed. I forgot that we were running Legendary Lilna this season, so we just had a drive attack on Knot instead of attack opening. Really would not have changed the outcome of any of the matches so far, so it doesn't really matter. But here, Knot is going to be able to chunk into Arden with Luna here, but not really much we can do there. We just actually get 2-shot by Ignis. Because welcome to minus defense Knot with low HP, even though she's a bonus unit. Not as a bonus unit did give us some trouble this season. Nino, of course, has a much harder time taking her out when she gets +4 speed and +10 HP with +4 res. That's definitely all a huge problem for Nino to deal with, but surprisingly, or not surprisingly, up to you, Air is actually able to 1v1 Knots pretty well, especially with Lithiaberg. We're fine. Gosh dang, the extra stats are super useful on top of the bonus stats. A few times Air was actually able to one-shot some Knots, so that's pretty cool. But most of the time, because of Kaden and company, Air is just actually able to naturally double Knots, so that really didn't have anything to do with the bonus stats. The bonus stats just helped with getting a large enough attack stats. That's pretty much it. That's great. As for down the road, what I would hope to do with this offense team, we're pretty much just sitting around waiting for Peony Remix, maybe Milla Remix. I honestly don't feel like Milla's Remix is going to do that much for us. She already has problems isolating Dancer Elegant from late season in the first place, because of course with defense mythics like Knot buffing Eldigan's defense by 5 for Knot. Yeah, your chances are you're not going to be able to get away with those kind of shenanigans. And speaking of shenanigans, this person unfortunately does not place dagger within Henriette's range. Leave it as an exercise for the viewer to determine if Henriette could survive Legendary Lilna. I don't think it's a pretty difficult exercise, so not really much to see there.
You offend me.
At least here, Knot doesn't do 0 damage with Luna, that's great. He's able to survive 2 shots here, but with Ether incoming, you can't survive 4 shots, and of course Harmonized Catra. No way in heck is she going to survive Arden or even pick up a kill on him. So, match is, of course, basically over at this point. And ripperonis to us once again. At least we did end up getting one kill, which is cool, but it really should have been a clean win for our opponent here, because just leaving Dagger out in range like that was completely unnecessary. Definitely did not need to happen. See if they go for the ether structures here. I didn't watch this replay. Looks like they might go for it. Let's see here. They can get back. They can get back near the I guess they're just chipping them down because Nil's down because they can. And yeah, looks like they're gonna grab the ether structure, so seems good. Nil's not gonna be able to take out Fafnir. If he could somehow double, then that would happen, but yeah, doubling Fafnir, Meteor's Fafnir, probably not going to happen.
Only the beginning!
Wishful thinking. Rip the Nils, and rip to our defense. So of course, as you can see here, we ended up getting generally doing all right on defense. For the first couple days of the season, I believe it was due to the version update, we didn't get any defense matches, which of course helped us out here, getting to tier 39 and in particular 21,448 lift. Less chance, we had basically less chance of losing lift because of that. Ended up losing 10 here, and towards the end of the season, of course, since we're way up in the ranks, naturally we're going to get matched with people who are generally also up in the ranks, which means generally we're going to get absolutely rolled over because our defense isn't that great. But as you can see, we only have 2 matches where we lost lift so far this season. So at the very least, even if we don't see that we lose any rankings or whatever at the end of the season, we can be absolutely sure if we lost any lift or not from now till the end of the season by looking at our defense lift scoring for the season. So just keep an eye out on that. We currently have minus 40, currently rank 196, so I would say that's probably top. Not too often you get this far up here, but of course if you look at the leaderboards, if it will load, hold on a second. There we go, finally loaded up. You can see, of course, the leaderboards is essentially just max score, you know, just casually. I don't even know where it ends, but yeah, if you want to be at the front by the end of the season, kinda need to have max score most of the time, especially when the bonus units are as decent as what we had this season, not in air. So absolutely fantastic season for us, and it would be a cherry on top, of course, if we do get our personal best. If we get this as our personal best, I highly doubt we'll top it anytime soon. I said that last time when we got 21,428, but you never know. It's pretty hard for us to get -0 on defense, especially when our defense is as mean as this. Like, heck, we didn't even have Bramamon in range of Harmonized Catray to start, so you can't even get triangle attack until the opponent initiates, and then he gets in range of Harmonized Catray. So overall, the damage output out of his defense is super weak melee presence, and of course our ranged units pretty reliant on specials, and of course Dramamon doesn't get that much attack, so combined with infantry school being bonus, yeah, he's not going to do particularly well. But anyways, going back to the other modes here, of course we've already seen Resonant Battles, easily going back up to Interval 20. Arena decided to not try this week. I don't actually know what the required score is for staying, I would imagine because of units like Thea being bonus, or even heck Legendary Myrrh being bonus, and it being win season, I would expect 764s, which I kind of just didn't want to build Thea all the way to plus 10 just to stay. Because next season it is Catria bonus, the original launch Catria, and we do have her at plus 10. But again, the problem is we would probably have to abuse blessings to stay, and I think it would just be an absolute headache to try. So instead of burning hundreds of thousands of feathers and probably a good amount of crests to try and stay, we're just going to bounce and go back in to tier 21 after the Catria bonus season. So hopefully we might get a favorable bonus for us and we can start staying in tier 21 for maybe a season or two. I don't ever expect to maintain a streak, because in order for us to do that, we have to max out legendary heroes and score bots. So currently, of course, we have our Earth season is pretty much set. Our Fire season's pretty weak. Our Water season's okay. With nowadays, legendaries are a legendary Crom. Legendaries is, of course, the weaker scoring one, which is the whole problem with our scoring during Water season nowadays. But Wind season, end of the month here, we're gonna try and plus 10 legendary Sigurd. As long as we get even one copy of him, we will have him in reasonable scoring contention, but of course plus 10 would be most ideal. So we'll see about that. But the biggest thing is, of course, the score bots. To this day, we're still only using essentially 170 BST score bots. Maybe 175 on occasion, but yeah, that's not great in this day and age where you have duo heroes scoring like effectively 195 BST or even 200 in some special cases, I believe. Yeah, running 170 is pretty darn weak. And of course, in order for us to increase our scoring in that department, we would need to go out and plus 10 some duo heroes, and that's gonna take a while. I don't know who we would plus 10. Maybe Duo Dagger, not entirely sure. But yeah, that's a long ways from now. An Arena Assault here. This is our weakest season, but it seems like even with this relatively weak score here, looks like we're going to make top 1k. It's not the end of the world if we don't. We're not actively tryharding every week that Arena Assault Plus is active to get top 1k. It's just that most of the time, if we just do a run, we get top 1k. That's pretty much how it goes, and well, Legion's Battles, not a thing this week. Kind of weird that Arena Assault Plus has been running back-to-back weeks for, I think, 3 weeks now. And that Summoner Duels is currently postponed. I'm not entirely sure what's going on with that. It might have to do with the Summoner Duels updates, the new Captain skill, I don't know. Clearly something's up, but at least we have the calendar to know that Summoner Duels is going to be returning soon. A trademark, I believe, in a week from now. Or, not a week from now, but I believe next week should be Summoner Duels are. I don't actually remember. It might be this week. We'll see. But anyways, enough rambling. We'll be back when the results drop in. Alright, so I actually changed my mind and quickly built up a Thea and did our arena run in 10 minutes because it was mostly just fishing. Decided to go with 3880 to be safe because, well, we could find 764s somewhat easily. So yeah, shouldn't be too bad. We'll see what we'll do next season. We do have Catria. We'll probably have to build her up a bit. But so far, still no change in our defense results, so we might, just maybe, break our personal best by 20 left, but we'll see. And, well, here we are. Let's see what we got. We got rank 202, pretty solid. And the moment of truth. Did we lose anything? And it appears like we did not, so a new personal best in lift that we most likely will not break for quite a long time. This season we have triple bonuses, and we also have Earth and Wind season available, so we can use like Legendary Nana, for example. I don't know if we're gonna use anyone from Wind season, probably not. I don't think Legendary Sigurd's that worth. Maybe we'll give it a try again for the heck of it, but yeah, we'll be changing up this stuff to kick out Mirabilis. Honestly, we might try going all melee or something silly for the memes, because we don't exactly entirely care about defense for Anima season especially, since most of the time we're just merge plonking. And in fact, I haven't even built Zeros yet, so we might even just use base kit. Not sure if I want to run Wings of Mercy on her. I think we'll probably keep Dragon Wall. And oh boy, it was close, but we were top 1k this time around. We did make it, so that's cool. But again, not the end of the world. And of course, Legion's Battles is not this season, but the upcoming season. So, not entirely sure what we're going to be doing with Thea in the future. But until then, thanks for watching. As always, this is Ether Dragon, and hope to see you all next time. Bye!